Easy guys, hope you're good. So today I wanted to talk to you about bus compression. I kind of get the vibe that a lot of people are a little bit insecure about it, and it's a valid concern because the mix bus is a very sensitive place for processing, and maybe many folks just don't know how to get started with it. So I wanted to make a video with 3 different styles of bus compression that I like to use. Maybe that will help you to get an idea of how to set up a compressor on the bus, and what to look out for, what to listen for, and how to use it. So this is the short form version of this tutorial. The full uncut versions of my videos are available through Patreon. So in those long form videos you can pick up some more in-depth tips and tricks. Go check it out, you'll find the link in the video description. Big shout out to all my Patreon supporters. It's so nice to have you guys on board, and it's really enabling me to produce better content. I chose to go with the soft tube American Class A compressor for this tutorial. It's a really good all-rounder and one of my favorite compressors. But I also chose it because it has this nice waveform view to demonstrate things with, and the controls are completely universal. So you can apply this tutorial to pretty much any other compressor out there. So you can just use whatever you like, whatever you have. But if you want to check out the American Class A, I've also put the link in the video description below. We're gonna do the SSL Style kind of movement type compression. Then we're gonna do really hard New York Style compression. And then we're gonna do something, I don't know what's the name for it, but just touching on the transients a little bit. First, let's look at this so-called SSL Style. That's what I call it anyways. And we're just gonna try to get a nice movement, a little bit of movement, a little bit of glue, and a little bit of punch out of the track. So I like to crank up the ratio and threshold quite a bit when I'm adjusting the attack and release times. The reason for that is it's easier to hear what the compressor is doing, how the timings are working when you have a stronger, more gain reduction going. So we're just going to relax the compression on the lows. So we're using the filters to compression here and turn on the high pass. It just high passes the compression detection circuit, so the compressor is not reacting to the lows anymore. So you can see it start moving. Now we can see the release time has an effect on what we're doing. I usually like to, with this compressor I pretty much know I like to go with 25, the maximum attack time. SSL I usually go with 30. That's the maximum with SSL style compressors. But each compressor is different. So you're just looking for the transients to get through the compressor. So you can play around with this. Depending on the style of music you make, it also affects in drum and bass. I usually find I like to keep it around here, but if I'm doing something like techno, I might even go to 10 or something like that. So it really depends on the style of music as well. But yeah, we're gonna stick to 25 for now, and we're gonna find a nice release setting. So here I'm just looking for some movement, something interesting that I like. So here we're losing the movement. We can crank this up a little bit more. And over here it's starting to sound nice and bouncy. That's what I'm looking for. You can also experiment with the new type. It's a different algorithm. Just adds a lot more volume. So with this new type we're getting better movement around here with shorter release time. I'm actually liking how this is sounding. This is quite nice. Somewhere around here. It's a nice bounce. So from this point we're just gonna wind back the ratio and threshold. So around 2 is a good starting point. Again, each compressor is different. We're just looking for gain reduction where if you look at the gain reduction meter here, I'm looking for gain reduction where the reduction returns to 0 or close to 0 between when the compressor reacts. So this is a pretty typical setting for me. This is what I like to use like 95% of the time on mix bus. This is the basic style of compression I like to do. So it gives it some movement, it gives it some glue. Sounds really nice. Next up, we're gonna do the New York Style compression, which is a parallel compression. And for that, the idea is to hit it really hard, fast attack, fast release, and hit it really hard, and then use the wet dry control to balance it out. So let's get to it. Fast attack, fast release, high ratio, and a good amount of gain reduction. We're looking for a nice even gain reduction here. Again, I'm gonna do filters to compression and dial out the lows from the detection circuit because I don't want the bass to affect the compression too much. We're gonna find a release setting we like. We could even try again the new type. This is pretty nice. I think I might go a little bit slower on the release. So this is pretty nice. This is pretty much what I'm looking for. Nice even compression. We're using fast attack because the transients can and should get crushed in this type of compression. That's because we're using this parallel knob to bring back the dry signal, and we actually be using most of the dry signal and just mixing a little bit of the wet signal back in. So we're getting the transients and the punch and everything from the dry signal, and we're just adding that thickness from the wet signal. Now, I like to compress quite hard myself. I'm one of those guys who just really like to crank it. I always just try to stay careful when I'm advising other people. So it's really easy to mess things up, and I have numerous times. But yeah, I like the sound of compression on my music. Let's move on to the third style of compression, which is just trying to control the transients a little bit. The idea with that kind of compression is to kind of tame the transients so that the processing you will have down the chain will have easier time to deal with the music. So for this style of compression, we will also want to use fast attack because we want to grab the transients, and we can use a really high ratio. We want to use fast release, full wet, and then we just set the threshold so that just hit the transients and nothing else. And again, always look out if you're using the fast release, always look out for distortion. It's really easy to get that going. So that's the third style of compression. Now you can combine all these different styles. You don't have to just stick with one. So you could, for example, use this one first. Then we'll get another instance going. And we can use, we can do with this one, we'll do, let's do New York Style with this one. So that's New York Style. We can do third one with SSL. And this could be getting a bit too much, but just to demonstrate you So we'll do something like this. That's the SSL style. So there you have it, 3 different styles of compression working at the same time. You can do it like this as well. Don't be afraid to experiment with bus compression. One more thing I really want to point out, you can use bus compression like as a way to add it in the end, but it's really best to do at the beginning stages of the track. So when you got the basic idea of the track going like I have here, then add the bus compression and start mixing into it, so it becomes part of the sound of your track. So you've been watching the short version of this tutorial. The full 26-minute long uncut version is available through Patreon. You'll find the link in the video description. And of course I'm there to respond to your questions. I can't always get back to everyone here on YouTube or email, but that's why I've set up Patreon, to have a place for discussion and a place for priority support, so to speak. Thanks for watching and take care.